Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in the book of Obadiah. And the book of Obadiah is a book that's entirely dedicated to the Edomites, who are known as the so-called white people today. And the header reads, Edom will be humbled. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. And I'm going to jump down to verse 7, which is more specifically dealing with the United States of America's allies turning against her. All the men of thy confederacy, or your allies, have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And I opened up this video with these verses to preface a clip from Wyon's YouTube channel titled, Erdogan says Turkey is not in favor of Sweden and Finland's NATO bid. And as we'll see in this clip, Turkey is not 100% on board with the dictates of the West, really the United States of America, in getting these non-NATO European Edomite nations to join NATO so they can have a more forward operating position against Russia. And that's because Turkey is allies with Russia as well, and will eventually turn against the United States of America and ally themselves with Russia during World War III. And that's all a part of biblical prophecy. But let's go back to Obadiah 1 verse 7 just to show how Turkey is very duplicitous towards the United States of America, even though they're still putting out that image like they're allies with the U.S. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And an example of this is the Syrian civil war, when the U.S. and the West, as well as the state of Israel, waged that proxy war against Bashar al-Assad. You had Turkey on the side of the U.S. so they could carve out a northern corridor for themselves in the land of Syria, all while at the same time still being allies with Russia and doing lucrative economic and military deals with them. They that eat thy bread, they that receive support, again, such as the U.S. allowing Turkey to carve out some territory in Syria for themselves, have laid a wound under thee. Buying the S-400 defense system from Russia, as well as doing a lucrative business deal with Russia to allow Russia to help them build a nuclear power plant in Turkey. And like I just said, what all this is going to culminate into is Turkey completely turning against the United States of America during World War III and allying themselves with Russia. But now let's play a little bit of this clip. And they're going to give some BS reason as to why Turkey is not in support of Sweden and Finland joining NATO. They're going to say it's because Sweden and Finland support terroristic groups like the Kurdish fighters. But really, it's because they're secret allies with Russia.
Now, as tensions intensify over Finland's NATO bid, Turkish president has now said that it is not possible for Ankara to support Sweden and Finland in their move of joining the transatlantic military alliance. Speaking to reporters on Friday, Turkish president said that Ankara does not have positive views on this accession bids, and also indicated that Turkey could use its status as a member of the alliance to stop the admission. The Turkish leader further explained his opposition by citing Scandinavian countries' alleged backing for Kurdish rebel groups whom Ankara considers to be terrorists. Listen in.
Biz şu anda İsveç ve Finlandiya ile ilgili yani gelişmeleri takip ediyoruz ama olumlu bir düşünce içerisinde değiliz. Çünkü daha önce Yunanistan'la ilgili NATO konusunda bir yanlış yaptılar bizden önceki yönetimler ve Yunanistan'ın Türkiye'ye karşı NATO'yu da arkasına alarak takındığı tavrı biliyorsunuz. Bu konuda ikinci bir yanlışı Türkiye olarak işlemek istemiyoruz. Kaldı ki
Meanwhile, Washington has said that it is working to clarify Turkey's stance in Finland's NATO bid issue, saying that the idea of the two nations becoming members of NATO have received broader support from other member countries.
So we are working to clarify Turkey's position. We would refer you to the Turkish government for more information on their views. I think there's no question, and you've seen this from the public statements of a number of NATO leaders, that there is broad support from NATO member countries in Finland and Sweden's, desire or interest, stated interest in applying to join NATO. But we are continuing to work with Turkey, and I would point you to their representatives.
Now, all this comes after Finland said on Thursday that they would like to join NATO without delay. With Sweden expected to follow move, Moscow has called Finland's announcement a direct threat to Russia and has warned of an immediate retaliation. The decision by the two Nordic countries to abandon the neutrality would be one of the biggest shifts in European security in decades. While all these
Turkey not supporting Finland and Sweden's bid for NATO just because they so-called support Kurdish terrorist groups, huh? No, it's really because behind the scenes, Turkey is also allies with Russia. And again, this is just an example of all the men of thy confederacy and the men that were at peace with thee, deceiving thee and prevailing against thee, and they that eat thy bread, laying a wound under thee. Turkey will turn against the United States of America and fully ally themselves with Russia during World War III. Now let's get into these prophecies. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, which is the biblical name for Russia, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And that's talking about the Most High putting that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit back onto these Russian Edomites, which we can clearly see with their military operation in Ukraine, as well as them helping Bashar al-Assad during the Syrian civil war and building back up their military assets all across the planet, such as in the Arctic Ocean region, doing economic and military ties with Sudan, building back up one of their naval ports in Syria, etc., etc. Oh, and lest we forget, selling the S-400 and who knows what else military hardware to Turkey. And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Their military hardware, S-400s, S-500s, jets, tanks, helicopters, soldiers, etc., etc. And again, we're seeing them doing this in Ukraine. And what this is ultimately talking about is Russia's military assets being gathered down into that Middle Eastern region for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon in Joel chapter 3. Verse 5, Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Speaking of the allies of Russia, and Gomer is speaking of Turkey. And I have a book right here titled The Israelites by BSG Iserlin, which just goes into some of the ancient customs and history of the Hebrew Israelites. And when we go to page 22 and 23 of this book, it shows a map of the Mediterranean with a lot of ancient names. I'll try to get a big image of it. You can see Italy right there, the Black Sea. What do we have here? The landmass of Turkey. And then you've got Middle East right here. And when we zoom into Turkey, what do you see right there? Gomer. Get a big image of it in Mediterranean. And now let's go to a modern day map. The Mediterranean, the Black Sea, and what do we have there? Turkey. Verse 7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And that's talking about Gog or Russia being a guard unto these smaller nations during World War III. So again, we can clearly see that Turkey is deceiving the United States of America and will prevail against them and lay that wound under them when they will completely turn against them during World War III and ally themselves with Gog or Russia. And it's not just going to be Turkey or the other allies of Russia, such as China, Iran, or North Korea, that's going to go against the United States of America during World War III. Eventually, all of the United States of America's allies, even Britain, France, Germany, and these other NATO nations are going to turn against her as well, and they're all together going to shoot 200 million nuclear missiles onto the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, and turn her into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. We'll close it out in Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, and the 10 horns are speaking of the EU, or European Union, beginning with the first 10 common markets of the EU, back when it was known as the European Economic Community. And the beast is speaking of NATO, which Turkey is a member of NATO. These shall hate the whore, the United States of America, Babylon the Great, and shall make her desolate, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire, nuclear fire. And while Turkey doesn't appear to have nuclear weapons that they've manufactured of their own, they do host U.S.-made nuclear weapons in their country, which, when things go south, they could easily take them over and use them against the U.S. And like I said earlier in the video, Russia and Turkey have a joint project in Turkey to help Turkey build a nuclear power plant. And if they're doing that with Russia, imagine what other types of information and technical skills they're getting that would allow them to just easily build their own nuclear weapons if the U.S. decides to take the nukes that they put into their country out of it. So as we can see, biblical prophecy is taking place right before our very eyes. Apostle Tahar has deemed 2022 to be the year of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai turning things up, and we can see that things are turning up exponentially. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong, as we can clearly see we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.